Hey y'all, welcome back to Beard and Bourbon Woodshop. Today we're going to go build an outdoor mud kitchen for some kids to go outside and make a mess in and have a good time. So stick around, it's going to be a fun build. Okay, so this is the structure that I'm building. These are the dimensions. So the back is going to be 40 inches high. The front is going to be 26 inches high here, and this is before I put on a tabletop or anything like that. 35.5 inches wide, 18 inches deep. I'm going to have a bottom shelf on here. It's going to start off about 5 inches up from the bottom. I'm going to have two sides to this. There's going to be a tabletop on top of here, probably deck boards or something like that. I'm going to have a little sink over here, which is just a little like a Rubbermaid bin type thing with a drain in it. And this will give me space to have a 5-gallon bucket underneath here to drain water out. On the back, I'm going to use fence pickets. And then I'm going to have a hose spigot somewhere over here where you can attach a garden hose and turn the water on and off. And it's going to go into that sink with a stopper, and you can have water. And then you can use the countertop here to do whatever you want to do with all your mud fun goodness. Over here, I'm going to have some type of a door. So there'll be some type of divider here somewhere. Some type of a door, kind of make it look like an oven. So there's going to be some type of an apron here with some, like, I don't know, make some type of oven dials or something like that. And then like some fake burners so they can pretend to cook and stuff like that. And then the oven can be a fake oven, obviously, but used for storage for later on. And then I'm going to have a shelf that goes across the top for storage, to store toys on and stuff while they're playing and stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea here. I know there's a bunch of these online. You could buy plans for them. You could buy them. The one we had for my son, I think, was I don't know, one of them old Fisher Price ones or something like that, made from plastic a long time ago. It didn't last very long. But we're going to make this out of treated wood. That's what I've got laying around, and we're just going to try to use what we've got around here, around the shop, around the house. To put this together, and it's going to be for my nephews, and it's going to be great. So here we go. I've already got some parts I cut out. I've got some treated wood for this. This is just wood that I had laying around the house. I've got a bunch of wood left over from a deck build that I did a couple years ago. These are 2x6s that I basically ripped in half. I cut the rounded edge off of it and ran them to the table saw real quick and just cut them up to length on my miter saw real quick. So we're just going to start piecing this thing together. This is going to be a pretty simple build. Probably just going to go pick up a deck board to use for the table. I don't think I have any of those laying around that I can use. So, all right. So, saw the design. I'm going to set this over here for right now. Get that out of the way. All right, so I've already got a lot of these boards cut up because I was just playing with some different sizes because I didn't know what size I wanted to do. So I was kind of looking online to see kind of what sizes a lot of these are. I've got one nephew that's a little bit older, and then I got one that's still a very little baby, like a year old. So there's going to be some growing to do here. And I want it to last a while to get through the kids and stuff like that. So I built it to where they can both use it and have plenty of room to grow into it and stuff like that, knowing that the older one may not use it for very long, but it's all good. So I cut up, basically I ripped a treated 2x6. I got some 12-footers that I've just got laying around from an old deck project. I ripped them in half. I cut the rounded edges off first, and then I ripped them in half. I sanded them. I put a little 1/8 inch round over in my palm sander and kind of smooth the edges real quick, and then that's all I've done. So I've got the back legs cut, the front legs cut, the side stretchers cut, and the front and back stretcher. I need 2 more of these. I know for the upper part, unless I make an apron, which I might just do that and do it a little bit different than using these, but we'll see. Again, I'm just kind of winging this, kind of figuring this out as I go. So I already had these clamped together just to get an idea of the size and what it looked like. And I sent a picture off to my brother and sister-in-law, and they approved. So anyway, let's go ahead and put the 2 sides together real quick. I'm using exterior grade pocket hole screws and Type Bond 3 for this. There's a billion other ways to do joiner and all this stuff like that, but this is an outdoor project. We're just trying to make it solid. It'll be all right. So, okay, let's get going on these legs. I use these 90-degree clamps for every project, it seems. Okay, so I got to make sure that a 5-gallon bucket can fit in this space. Otherwise, I may have to drop this down a little bit. Yeah, I got about 3 inches to spare here. I want to drop it down just a little bit. I want to make this easy to get in and out. That's the bucket that I'm going to be using. Okay, so what's this again? 3.5. Okay. Actually, I need to go ahead and do pocket screws. So these are pocket hole screws. Okay, so I've got this thing laid on its back right now. I'm using these wood carpenter clamps to hold everything up, just resting it on my bench here. I love those clamps. These are super handy. So I've got pocket hole screws in here on the stretchers. I went ahead and drilled all those out. Here's the rest of them here. And then I'm just using my pocket hole clamp to hold that together. And we'll go ahead and get this side attached, and we'll attach this side, and we'll probably go ahead and attach the bottom, and we'll stand it up and do the front stretchers. So stick around. Okay, got that back stretcher on. Now it's time to go ahead, and I think I'm going to go ahead and cut the pickets for the sides and then the back, and then we'll figure out the rest. Okay, so I got the boards planed down. I didn't plane them down perfectly because I didn't want to. I wanted them to leave them a little bit rustic. So all I was trying to do is get them a little bit smoother. No big deal. So yeah, I should be able to get 3 boards out of this one picket for the sides. I have to get some more pickets for the back because that's 40 inches tall. So I'm really only able to get 1 picket or 1 board per picket for the back side of this. So let's go ahead and start cutting these. So these get cut at 22 3/4. Okay, so based on my measurements, we're gonna have to rip one of these. I'm gonna have it flush to the front, because I think anything I have on the front is gonna cover up this edge. So what I'm doing is, so I've got a piece of scrap that I'm going to use as a spacer. It's just arbitrary width, doesn't matter. I could make this thinner. So just like that, I will rip that side off, which is nice because it's got a crack in it anyway. And we'll keep this side, and then we should be able to get these screwed on here. Should be all right. All right. So I think what I'm going to do, is just glue these. I've got some galvanized staples. I think I might just glue these and staple these. Keep it simple. Okay, on to the next side. Okay, well, we got the sides done. So now I need to figure out, I like to go ahead and get the bottom table part figured out if I could, and then go ahead and attach the back and then work around to the front. So let's get that figured out. Okay, so this is what I came up with. I've got the whole unit upside down on my workbench. So what I did was I cut some 2x4s or 2x6 that I ripped down, put a 45 and flatten out the tip. And I'm going to just make a bunch of wooden slats on the bottom of this, basically forming a big tray. So we're going to screw those on from the bottom up into the stretchers and make a big box. And that'll give me enough room to get the bucket in and out of underneath the sink. Because with the sink hanging down, even if I put something on top of these stretchers, the sink was going to hit the bucket. So I could have went a little bit taller on that, but I didn't have the sink at the time when I designed it. So we're improvising a little bit, but this will be perfectly fine. Just going to make, I've got a bunch of these I just cut on the table saw. So we're just going to screw these in with 2.5-inch exterior screws, and we'll have a bottom. So got the floor on here. Now I need to get a stretcher here and right in the center. I'm going to put a door here on this front, and then a door here on this front as well. And then we got to do the back, and then we can go ahead and work on the top. Hey y'all, we're back for another day. I had to run to Lowe's yesterday, pick up some stuff, so I wanted to give you an update on where we're at here. I got the back attached. That looks good. I went ahead and put the center stretcher in here for the doors, which is what we're going to work on right now. I've got a regular door here, and my wife seems to think we should make this like an oven door so the hinges can go on the bottom. So I'm going to try to see if I can't figure that out. We picked up supplies to do the plumbing, which is going to come out up here. And then I got a couple deck boards to make the tabletop, and we'll get that going. So, but right now I'm going to work on getting these doors built. Okay, so what I just did here, I cut a piece of fence picket here, and I basically glued and stapled it to the side here. It's going to be a trim piece. I'm going to have another one go across the top, another one down the other side, and that way my doors can fit in between here. And I didn't take any measurements. I just kind of laid it up here and scribed the back, and then ripped it on the table saw, and then cut it the length on my miter saw. So I'll do the same thing over here. I'm intentionally keeping the knots and the imperfections because I'm trying to make this look kind of rustic. That's the whole point. I love using reclaimed lumber. I think it's a good use for the wood because I'm not using it for anything else. And I just like the look of it. I think it's pretty cool. So, and I know my nephews are going to like it. So let's go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll do the top piece. Okay, so now the top piece. Okay, so I clamped a 4-foot level on here onto my bench to use as a straight edge. And what I did is I laid the boards down, and measured out what ended up being 15 1/8. And then I put some painter's tape on here just to hold them together. And now I'm going to make some braces to kind of just go across these and hold them together. So this turned out okay. So let's go ahead and make the other side. Okay, we got that in. That looks pretty cool. Just need to get it lined up and get some hinges on it, and then that side will be done. Okay, so to figure out your spacing here using these playing cards, so I've got the door sitting all the way at the bottom right now. So I'm going to take a stack of cards, and I'm going to just keep stacking them until I fill in this gap at the top. That's about it. And then I'll count them, and then I'll divide them in half. Okay, there's one door. All right, so one thing I wanted to do is get some kind of a tray in here. So like if the kids are pretending it's an oven or something like that, they'll have like a rack to put things on. So I took a piece of wood and I'm just going to put these on as nailers on the side here and on the back, and then I got to make another one to go in the middle here. And then I'm going to use some fence pickets to make like a little center rack here just on this one side. And then I'm just going to use fence pickets to actually cover the top of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get on that real quick. Hey y'all, back in the shop today working on this outdoor mud kitchen for my nephews. Made some good progress the other day. I did some stuff off camera. Let me just kind of walk you through that real quick. So first off, I've got both doors installed. This is where the bucket's going to go to catch the water for the sink when we drain that. This one I mounted differently, kind of like an oven door, because that's kind of what it's meant to be. It's like a fake oven for them to pretend bake stuff. I added a little string here to keep it from falling all the way open. I got a little center rack in here. When this isn't in use, this is where they're going to be storing stuff. They got, like, my wife picked up some toys for them, like little kid kitchen toys to play with out here when they're baking their mud pies and whatnots. So got that done. I sanded the outside a little bit because since this is reclaimed lumber, it was pretty splintery and stuff like that. And with the little kids playing out here, I didn't want them getting full of splinters and stuff like that. So we got that done. So today what we're going to do is I got some feet levelers to put on this. I know it's going to be sitting on a concrete patio that's not quite level. And then plus that's going to keep it up off the ground, not soaking up water into the legs and stuff like that. So keep these legs from rotting so fast. So I'm going to lay it on its back, go ahead and do that first. Then we're going to get it off the bench and start working on getting this top installed. So I've got some deck boards I'm going to use for the top. We need to get those attached and get the circle cut out for the sink. And then the last step is to hook up a hose connection. I got a little brass hose bib, like a hose spigot, basically, I'm going to use. So I figured I'm going to run some copper piping through, just right through here, just a short piece with the hose connection on the back side, so they can just hook a hose up to it real quick and have water. So that'll be fun. And then after that, it's just buttoning up with a few little decorations and things. We're going to put some hooks up here to hang some stuff. I was going to put a shelf up here on top, but I don't think we're going to, because I don't really think it's going to do much. I'm going to go ahead and get these feet levelers on and then get it moved down to the floor and start working on that top. So let's get after it. So this is something I've recently found. I think I found it on somebody's YouTube channel. I don't even remember where now. But it's this fast cap zero clearance tape. It's this PVC tape that you use, and this came with a pack of 5. And they make a bunch of different sizes, but it's for your miter saw. It's not specific to any saw in particular. I had to trim the length off this a little bit, and I cut the corners off. But you just stick this tape down to your insert on your miter saw, and then you just cut through it, and now poof, you have a zero clearance insert for your miter saw. And if it ever gets damaged, you just peel it off and slap a new one on. It's pretty cool. So now I've got a zero clearance insert for my miter saw without having to take this thing apart and make one. So quick and easy. It took me 10 seconds to slap it on there and trim it the length. So neat. Anyway, I'll leave a link in the description. A little bit of an overhang here on the front. All right, so I'm just going to cut all these at 35 and a half. I'm not sure how many yet I'm going to need. Okay, so I got that board ripped. I still need to put a round over on it real quick, but so let me get my router bits out and figure out what round over bit I need, and we'll go with that. Okay, so this is the little sink that I got. Got a little drain down here in the middle. I can leave a link in the description if you would like. But so I'm just going to trace this out and then modify my line to go in a little bit. But I got to try to get it centered somewhat. Okay, so just again, arbitrary numbers for the most part. I'm going to go 3.5 inches in from the front edge, and then 5 inches in from the side. And looking down, that looks fairly centered. So what I'm going to do is mark the outside of this. Carefully, so I'll move it. Okay, so then what I need to do is, what I ought to do is come up with a template.
Genius. Let's do this.
Okay, so I cut out a cardboard template. We're just going to tape that down, kind of center it over the hole that I drew, and we're just going to cut around that. And that ought to do it. Perfect. so I'm just going to sand this top real quick. I'm going to hit it with some 80 grit and then with come back with some 120 just so it's nice and smooth. And then I'm ready to work on the plumbing, but I'm going to have to leave for a little bit and come back to that. So let's go ahead and sand this top real quick and move on to the next step. All right, so I got everything else attached. Got the hose piece to put on here last. Kind of like that. It's at a little bit of an angle, but I'm not too worried about that. All right, so the trick to doing this is don't set anything on fire.
Say what?
So I'm using a pretty small torch because it's very direct. The rest of these pieces I did in a vise on my big workbench, and I used a big handheld torch. I'm going to just use this little guy here that I've had for a while, just a little butane burner. It takes a little bit longer, but it's a very like pin style flame, so I can get it directly right where I want it and not worry about setting this wood on fire. When I soldered the pieces inside here, I soaked the wood. I had aluminum foil behind it because I was right up against the wood, and I didn't even scorch the wood with this burner, so that's a good thing. I've done this before. I've set the wood on fire and charred some wood, or drywall. So it can be tricky, but we're gonna do this right. So, and whenever you do this, you don't heat the pipe, you heat the joint. So I'm just touching this just to the tip of the blue flame, kind of working my way around it until my solder just starts to stick. These pipes have to be super clean, using a lead-free solder. Okay, that should do it. Now, I like to take a wet rag as soon as I'm done. Clean that up a little bit. I always keep a wet rag around when I'm doing this, just in case. Not my finest work, but it should do the trick. Okay, so should be able to just screw a hose into that, and I still need to put the hose spigot on here. I need to clean this up a little bit. I had a little solder drip out onto this thing when I was soldering that, so I'm going to clean this joint up a little bit. Probably take a wire brush to this stuff real quick, and then I just need to screw this into place there, and then we're good. Hey y'all, I had some footage of me finishing up this outdoor mug kitchen, but I guess it got corrupted or something. I'm not sure what happened to it. So it's going to kind of wrap up what we did. So what I ended up doing is after I finished the plumbing, I did end up having to replace that threaded fitting with the hose bib. The hose didn't hook up to that copper fitting that I soldered on there. So I just ended up putting another hose fitting on the other end. So hose spigot for the actual faucet into the sink, and then a hose spigot on the outside, and that worked. It worked fine. Just dual shutoffs, basically, kind of redundant, but it worked. Didn't need to be perfect or anything like that. It solved the problem, so we'll take that. I painted 3 round burners on the top, and my wife kind of painted on them to make it look like an actual oven burner or something like that, so the kids can pretend like they're cooking and stuff like that. She bought a bunch of little bowls and muffin tins and some other things for them to play with, and we delivered it actually yesterday by the time I'm filming this. And they just loved it. They were just having a good old time. My daughter, who's almost 13, she was outside playing with it. She was wanting one. My sister's niece, who's a little bit older, she was wanting one. So everybody was having a blast playing with this thing. It was a lot of fun to see them out there. They were getting muddied. Everything was a mess, and it was a lot of fun. So good times for the kids. It was just turn on the water and let them play and let them be messy and let them be creative and stuff like that. So that's what it's all about. So it was a good time. So good build. If you got any questions about it, leave me a link or leave me a comment. I'll make sure to answer it as soon as I can. But it was a really fun build. If you want to build one yourself, just be creative. That's all I did. I was kind of totally winging that whole thing. So But like I said, if you got any questions about how I did it, just leave me a comment and I'll get back with you. So one thing I do want to do real quick before we wrap this video up, I want to give a couple shout outs to a couple other new YouTube channels that I've recently come across. One of them is Brian at Grossman Woodworking and DIY. Check his channel out. He's just starting. He's been putting out a lot of videos, building a shop from scratch, getting his business up and running. So he's got a lot of cool videos out there, kind of growing his business, building up his shop and stuff like that. It's been good. He's got a real good channel going, so check him out. And I want to return a shout out to Brian at Ozarks Grimworks. He gave me a shout out a couple weeks ago in one of his videos. He's just getting his channel started too. These guys are just both starting YouTube channels, both starting their woodworking business journey just like I am. So want to support these small channels and help everybody grow and kind of share word of these other small YouTubers and stuff like that. So guys, keep it going. Appreciate your videos. And y'all just check the channels out. It's pretty cool. So thank you all for watching this video. I appreciate it. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave me a comment. I'll try to respond to every comment that I get. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help support these small YouTube channels, and we'll see you next time. Let's go make something.